Hello guys! 2 days ago I released my new Pennywise boss battle map. If you have not seen it yet, the link to the trailer and the download page can be found in the description. In this video I'm going to explain the boss battle to you and give you a brief look behind the scenes and how I made some of the stuff happen. When you open up the map you will spawn in this lobby, where you will find a cute little statue of myself and a menu where you can select the difficulty and start the game. In your inventory you will find several items. The sword can be used to beat things up and the bow to shoot arrows. If you need a hint for the current stage, you can also right click the question mark and you'll be given information on what to do. Finally, there's a red X, and right clicking it just allows you to return to the lobby. In the first stage you have to shoot Pennywise's eyes. After 2 successful hits they turn red. Whenever both of his eyes are red, he will shoot a fireball toward you. If you manage to deflect it into a balloon, it will pop. Every few seconds Pennywise blinks though to heal his eyes. After you manage to pop all 4 balloons, the first stage is completed. In the second stage we have to shoot the remaining balloon cores. After 3 hits, they will activate and send a laser beam into Pennywise's eyes. When all of them are lit up, the third stage begins. Here you have to wait for him to laugh and shoot arrows into his mouth. After he ate 5 tasty arrows, he will finally be defeated. Sounds easy, right? Of course though, Pennywise has a couple of attacks that make the fight much more challenging. Attack number 1 are knives. For a couple of seconds they come flying toward you. There's a random chance for them to be offset into either direction. This makes dodging a much more difficult task because you can't just run away in a straight line, and if you think you can easily juke using the teleport pads, then you are wrong, my friend, because going near the edge spawns tons of knives that are pretty much impossible to dodge. Next off we have some tiny balloon minions that deal knockback to make you fall into the lava. They only have 5 HP though, so they are fairly easy to kill. Every so often you will be cursed, as indicated by this retextured Elder Guardian particle effect. The curse simply gives you nausea, which makes landing shots super tricky. The Firewall is my absolute favorite attack. When the audio cue plays, a firewall will spawn on a random side and travel toward you. The only way to dodge is using the teleport pads. This is repeated 2 more times before the attack is finally over. Blood rain is pretty self-explanatory. Blood will rain from the sky and you have to dodge to avoid taking too much damage. Finally, there's an attack where on 3 random spots out of 4 possible ones, a marker will appear. After a couple of seconds, a meteor will hit the marked areas and deal massive damage to you. Make sure that you see it in time so you can reach the safe spots before they land. And that's pretty much all you need to know in order to defeat Pennywise. In case you are wondering what the difference between the difficulties is, there's a couple of things that are influenced. The blink frequency, which forces you to land your shots faster, your level of regeneration and resistance, the speed in which the attacks occur, and the health and number of balloon minions. If you can complete the map on the hardest difficulty, then kudos to you, because I actually didn't manage to do it. After about 10 failed attempts of making it to stage 3, I just gave up. But hey, that's why it's called difficult, right? You're supposed to fail here. This map does not use a single command block, and everything works using functions. If you're not interested in the technical aspect of map making, you can close this video now, because I'm about to show and talk about code. If you want to check it out for yourself, feel free to look through the functions. I labeled everything, so you should have a little bit of orientation. Let's start off with the general function. This one is set as the game loop function and is executed 20 times a second. The blink section is just a really basic scoreboard loop. There's a score constantly ticking up, and at certain values I clone the correct animation frame to the face in the arena. What you can notice is that the score resets at a certain value depending on what the difficulty is. SH stands for scoreholder, which is an armor stand in the world by the way. I1 and I2 track how much damage the eyes have taken. Every time the eyes close, these scores decrease by 1 again, which causes them to heal. Here I'm simply testing for an arrow in the eyes and increase those scores accordingly. If both eyes have a hit level of 2, the scoreboard screen value will be set to 1. To reduce the amount of running commands, I am only calling the stage functions when they are actually needed. Lag is not really an issue in this map, but I mean optimizing performance can't hurt either. I'm doing the same thing with the attacks. The functions are not constantly running, but only when they are really needed. Whenever the attack timer score reaches 0, a random attack will be called. I put some restrictions here to cause some variation. So balloon minions, for example, will only spawn in stage 1 and 2, but not in stage 3. Inside of every attack function, the score, which is initially set to 1, will tick up and reset to 0 after a certain time again. As long as that score is above 1, I'm calling the function. Once again, I just did this for performance optimization and to keep everything a bit more organized. I'm only going to explain the knives, as all of the attacks work very similarly. If you're interested in something specific, feel free to look it up. Inside of this function, I'm setting the attack timer to a certain value as long as it's running. Remember, attack timer is the score that keeps calling a random attack. So depending on what the difficulty is, the delay will be higher or lower. At some hard-coded timestamps, I'm giving the summon knife tag to the scoreholder armor stand. Whenever it has that tag, it will instantly be removed after summoning 3 randomized armor stands. Depending on which one of these gets a random score of 1, I'm summoning a knife in front, to the left or the right of the player. I'm also playing this knife throwing sound with a different pitch each time to create some variation. These couple of commands just check if the player is on the edge of the platform, and if he is, then they summon lots of knives so that the player can't just run away in a straight line. And finally, I'm giving the player instant damage whenever he is hit by a sword. I use this principle for pretty much all of the attacks. Sometimes the armor stands are just coming from the sky or the sides instead. The TP pads and difficulty selection are not really worth explaining, but I did something interesting in the lobby. I talked to Mark about this, and there's a slight chance that this map will appear on Realms in the future. So I had to make some additional mechanisms so that the map doesn't break when multiple people use it on Realms. The problem is that if a player starts a game and then leaves, the play button in the lobby would be blocked and nobody could play unless the first person finishes the game. To fix this problem, I am allowing a new player to start a game, even if a game is already running. The only condition is that the player from the currently active game has to be logged off. This brings up another problem though. What if the old player rejoins now? He would still spawn in the arena with all of his items. My solution was to create a game ID score. Every time a new game is started, this score is increased by 1. The player's game ID score will be matched with that of the scoreholder armor stand. If player A now leaves, player B starts a new game and player A rejoins, the map's game ID score will be higher than player A game's ID score. I simply detect that and put him back into the lobby and let player B continue as nothing ever happened. The rest I feel like is not really too interesting to explain. I simply have some more animation loops for success, game start, defeat for example, and all of those functions are somehow connected to trigger each other when needed. And that pretty much concludes this little behind the scenes and explanation video. I doubt that many of you actually made it this far through the video, but if you did, then congratulations for your patience, and I sure as hell hope you learned something new. If you have any questions about the map, feel free to leave a comment, and if you don't, then you are probably very smart. But anyways, thank you so much for watching guys, and I hope to see you in my next video.